The clink of coffee mugs and the smell of frying bacon filled Maggie's diner, a small roadside stop in Montana where truckers, bikers, and families often crossed paths. At table 7 sat Blake Winters, a 17-year-old from one of the richest families in the state. His designer jacket screamed money. His smirk screamed arrogance. When Maggie, a gray-haired waitress with shaky hands and a warm smile, accidentally spilled a few drops of coffee near his expensive sneakers, Blake snapped. "Are you blind, lady?" he shouted, standing up so everyone could hear. "These are $1,000 shoes!" The diner went silent. Maggie trembled, her eyes glistening with embarrassment. She whispered softly, "I'm sorry, sweetheart. My hands aren't as steady as they used to be." Blake scoffed, then, in one cruel, thoughtless act, he spat near her shoes. Laughter came from his table of rich friends. But in the far corner, the laughter didn't sit well with 3 leather-jacketed men, sipping black coffee beside their parked Harleys. Their vests bore the emblem, Iron Brotherhood MC. The biggest of them, a burly man with a silver beard named Bear, set his cup down with a slow, heavy thud. He looked at Maggie, then at Blake. And his jaw clenched. As Blake turned to leave, Bear stood up. The diner's chatter faded to silence again. "Hey, kid," Bear said, voice deep and calm. "You gonna clean that up?" Blake frowned. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," Bear said. "You just disrespected a woman old enough to be your grandmother. In my world, that don't fly." Blake's friends shifted nervously. One whispered, "Let's just go, dude." But Blake puffed his chest. "Look, man, I don't need a lecture from some biker. Do you even know who my dad is?" Bear took a slow step forward. "Don't care who he is, kid. But I can tell you what you ain't, a man." The diner's air grew heavy. Maggie tried to intervene, shaking her head. "Please, Bear, let it go. He's just a kid." Bear sighed, his tone softening for her. "You got too good a heart, Maggie." Then he looked back at Blake. "I'll tell you what. You got 2 choices. Walk out of here the same spoiled punk you came in as, or make things right." Blake, red-faced, muttered something about calling his lawyer and stormed out. His friends followed. But as the door closed, Bear just shook his head. Later that evening, the storm rolled in. The same road the teens took was slick with rain. Blake's car, a brand-new sports coupe, hit black ice near the bend by the old bridge. By the time it skidded off the shoulder, headlights vanished into the ditch. When the sound of impact echoed across the highway, the first people on the scene were none other than the Iron Brotherhood bikers, on their way back from the diner. Bear and his brothers jumped off their bikes, ran to the wreck, and found the twisted car, airbags deployed, smoke rising. Inside, Blake was dazed and bleeding. "Help, please!" he gasped. Without hesitation, Bear shattered the window, pulling him out with his bare hands as rain poured down. "Stay still, kid," Bear ordered. "You're gonna be fine." Blake looked up through blurry eyes. Why are you helping me? After what I did?" Bear's voice was calm. "'Cause, son, if Maggie saw me leave you here, she'd never forgive me. That's the kind of woman you spat on." Those words hit deeper than any punch could. Days later, Blake woke in a hospital bed. His father, standing beside him, told him what happened, how the bikers saved his life, how Maggie visited every day with flowers, whispering, "I'm just glad you're okay." Tears filled his eyes. He didn't deserve it, her kindness, their forgiveness, any of it. But something changed inside him. A week after he got out, Blake returned to Maggie's diner, alone this time. The place fell silent when he walked in. Maggie looked up from behind the counter, surprised. Blake walked to her, took off his jacket, and said, voice trembling, "Ma'am, I came to apologize. What I did was unforgivable. But if you'll let me, I'd like to work here, to learn some respect." She smiled, eyes watery. "Honey, I believe in second chances. Grab an apron." The door opened, and in walked Bear, smirking under his beard. "Didn't expect to see you behind the counter, kid." Blake grinned nervously. "I figured I owed you and Maggie a lot of coffee." Bear nodded. Good start. Welcome to the real world, son. Months later, Maggie's Diner had a new reputation, not just for its pie, but for its story. The spoiled rich kid who turned humble, serving the same people he once looked down on. Tourists stopped by to meet Blake, now known as the kid who changed. And every time someone asked what made him different, he'd point to Maggie and Bear and say, "They taught me what money can't buy, respect."